Hey guys, and welcome to this week's riveting art video. My name is Izzy.
Air Nomads is a collective term for the monastic order of men and women who practice the discipline of airbending and their seclusive theocratic society. One of the four nations, the Air Nomads were wanderers by definition, but had 4 air temples, one in each corner of the globe, hidden away atop mountain range and under cliffs. Unlike the other nations, the people of the Air Nomads were, without any seen exception, all benders due to the high level of spirituality of their people. The Air Nomads were a peaceful race who were wiped out by the Fire Nation. They lived in large temples and traveled the world on flying bison. They were the most spiritual of all the cultures and lived with harmony with nature. They were fun-loving and had a strong sense of humor. The Air Nomads made up the smallest of the 4 nations in the world. They had a small economy based entirely on limited agriculture. The population of the Air Nomads was small compared to even the Water Tribe, and was far smaller than either of the world's 2 major powers, the Fire Nation and the Earth Kingdom. Watching Avatar when I was younger, the Air Nomads really spoke to me. They were by far my favorite 4 nations, and when anyone asked me which element I would be, I always said an air nomad. And watching Aang in the show, being a vegetarian, was honestly one of the first sparks that led me to eventually become a vegetarian in my adulthood. I loved that they were pacifists by nature, and overall I just really enjoyed their teachings, and I really liked Aang. If we're being honest here, I was 12 years old when I first started watching Avatar The Last Airbender. Aang was 12. I had a crush on him. Alright? It's fine. I have since moved on to Zuko. The Water Tribe is a collective term for the nation of people who practice the art of waterbending. It is one of the original 4 nations, and its citizens primarily inhabit the northern and southernmost regions of the globe. There is a small community of waterbenders that populate the foggy swamp in the Earth Kingdom, although they were isolated from their sister tribes for generations, and others were largely unaware of their existence until they were stumbled upon by Avatar Aang. People of the Water Tribe are generally peaceful and strive to live in harmony with nature and the other nations of the world. There are 2 primary divisions of the Water Tribe, the Northern Tribe and the Southern Tribe. Both were governed by the Northern Chief for most of their existence. Avatar The Last Airbender has always been an incredibly important show to me. It really shaped a lot of my childhood, and it was probably one of the first things I remember being really into, shortly followed by my obsession with Webkins. But I don't know, I now have a tattoo kind of dedicated to Avatar The Last Airbender, full-fledged obsession. And there are definitely worse things I could have time obsessing over. I know a lot of people don't like Legend of Korra, but honestly, after a little bit of thinking about it, I've come to really like that series as well, and I'm super excited for the live-action series coming up in the next year or so. A part of me has always wanted to kind of keep it my little secret, even though everyone has definitely seen it to a certain extent. However, with it coming back into popularity, I've found that I'm kind of enjoying a lot of people being obsessed with it, because it means that there is more content for me to consume around it. And Uncle Iroh would not want me to keep it all to myself, so I have come to terms with, everyone kind of jumping on to the Avatar bandwagon. The Earth Kingdom is one of the world's 4 nations, spanning an entire continent, as well as several subsidiary islands. It is the largest and most populated sovereignty in the world and encompasses much of the Eastern Hemisphere. The kingdom operates as a monarchy under the rule of a king or queen. The people of the Earth Kingdom are proud and strong and adhere to a philosophy of peaceful coexistence and cooperation with the other nations of the world. Earthbenders use their ability for defense and industry and fiercely defend their cities against Fire Nation attacks during the 100-Year War. It also had a large economy based on agriculture and limited industry, though it is not as economically powerful as the Fire Nation, which benefits from advanced technology. The Earth Kingdom is characterized by significant ethnic and cultural diversity, a consequence of the country's vast territorial expanse. As a result, it suffers from high levels of local autonomy and ethnic conflict, both of which began accelerating as the cultural government grew weak. Despite this division, the people's recognition of the Earth Kingdom as a single political entity is largely strengthened throughout the communal belief in a shared history and identity. I mentioned earlier that there is a lot of content focused in the Avatar universe coming out right now, one of them being the Kyoshi novels. I am currently reading The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Lee. It takes place when Kyoshi first found out she was the Avatar and some of her training. I'm not going to go too in depth into it, but I will say I really love it, and it's so exciting to see a version of the universe when air nomads were at their peak and kind of seeing the role that they played in society that we just don't see during The Last Airbender because they are virtually extinct. It's also really cool to see the universe described in novel form as opposed to just a graphic novel or a cartoon, because when you're working in a novel, you're able to give a lot of backstory and context that sometimes you just miss when you're watching or just looking at pictures. The Fire Nation is one of the world's 4 nations. It is an absolute monarchy led by the Fire Lord, and home to most firebenders. Geographically, the nation is located along the planet's equator in the Western Hemisphere and is composed of several islands. Its capital is simply known as the Fire Nation capital. The Fire Nation is the second largest nation in terms of area, following the Earth Kingdom. While its economy is the most powerful in the world, its strong industrial sector and extensive technological developments not only enabled the Fire Nation to create an extremely powerful military, but also initiates worldwide modernization and globalization. I remember growing up, no one wanted to be the Fire Nation because they were the bad guys. However, in my adulthood, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that at the end of the day, I feel like I would probably be a firebender. And it was so funny, after taking a quiz, I found out I was like 2 points away from getting airbender, but ultimately it was a firebender. I've just come to terms with the fact that, like, thinking about who I am versus who I want to be, and at the end of the day I feel like I am Fire Nation. They're a very proud people, and I think in The Last Airbender we often think of them as like fiery, angry people with a lot of angst, but there's so much more to their like vibe than just that. Especially after reading the Kyoshi novels and kind of seeing who they were as a culture before they decided to, exterminate the rest of the world. Yeah. So I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this style of video where I just kind of sketch and kind of nerd out, call it like nerdy draw with me or something, there are plenty of fandoms and stuff that I'm kind of into that I wouldn't mind diving into a little bit like this. So thank you so much for watching. I'm not sure if any of these are going to be up on Redbubble. If any of them are, I'll be sure to throw up an image right here or something, so that you can know. Make sure to check me out on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Izzy Sneed, and that's basically all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this, and leave a comment which of the 4 nations you think you belong in.